Welcome back to the Web Security Academy lab walkthrough series. This is going to be the sixth installment of the series, and we are going to be solving the lab SQL injection union attacks, retrieving multiple values in a single column. So this lab is going to build off the previous lab we did, so I highly recommend going back and checking out that one first, or completing that lab before you attempt this one. However, this lab is going to be a little bit more complex, and the fact that we are going to only have one column this time to retrieve two columns of data from. So in the last lab, we had both a username and a password to retrieve. And luckily, in the backend SQL query, we had two items that were, or columns that were being queried that were both of type string. So in the case that you don't have two columns to retrieve two data points that you want, you can use this technique. And that is what we're going to go over today. So just like all the other SQL injections, this is going to be in the categories parameter again. So let's go ahead and load Burp Suite up and turn the intercept on. We're going to come back over here. I'm going to pick GIFs. I'm going to come back into Burp Suite and Command R to send that to repeater, and then turn intercept off. That would be Control R to send a repeater if you are on Windows. So now that we have this request captured, we can go ahead and get rid of the contents that it was passing through, just like we had been. So let's go ahead and do the same thing that we have, and we're going to do union plus select, and then we're going to add a null, and we're going to figure out how many columns there are first. So there's not one, and it looks like there's two. So there's two columns in this query, but we don't have two columns that hold a string. So let's go ahead and figure out which one of these two columns holds a string. So I'm just going to do ABC, send that. Okay, and it doesn't look like it's the first one, but just to be 100% positive and show you the difference in the error, we can put the string in the second one. And it looks like the second indexed column does hold a string. So similar to the last one, there is a table called users, and it contains the username and password columns. However, in this case, we don't have two indexes to retrieve username and password uniquely from one another. So we can use a technique, it's called concatenation. If you have any programming background, that's going to sound very familiar. Basically, concatenation is just adding two strings together. So what we can do is we can add both the username and the password together, and then just also add some type of separator that might make it obvious what is the username and then what is also the password. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to keep the union select, and then we're actually going to keep the null too, because the first data type has to match, and we don't necessarily know what that first data type is, so we're just going to keep it as null so it matches everything. So we're going to keep it as null, and then we're going to do comma, username, and then two pipes. So that is above the backslash. I'm going to do a star as my separator. The star has to be in single quotation marks because it's a string, so we're going to use the star as a separator between the two strings. Two more pipes, because that's the operator for concatenation. We're going to type password. So what this is doing right here is this is going to take the username, concatenate this star to the end of the username, and then it's going to take the password and concatenate the password after the star. So we're going to take the star, and then we need to do that same from statement that we used to select from the users table, because that is not the it's not the table that's being queried on the back end. So we need to go ahead and query that separate table. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll send that request, and we will look through here, and it looks like you can see the username, star, and then the passwords. And we can see, if we go ahead and we show response in browser, that's a right click on the response, go up to show response in browser, copy, paste that in, click show response. You can see it printed out here on the page. So what we did is we took this username, concatenated the star, and then also concatenated the password. So this star is really just an arbitrary value, and you can use it. You can use whatever you want. I recommend using something that's not typically going to be in a password. Some people use the tilde. It's all personal preference. But the goal of this lab was to log in as the administrator. So this should be the administrator's password. So what we'll do is we'll copy that. We'll go over to the My Account. We're going to type in administrator. And then click the password in. And we've logged in as the administrator. Feel free to tune back in for the next video where we will be going over enumeration of databases. All right, thanks guys.